Before we get started, and I really feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but this hack is not sanctioned by Panasonic at all. All this guide is me collecting different resources and comments from different forums online and putting them into one cohesive guide for you to use. A little over a month ago, I made a short about hacking my LUMIX GX1 that I imported all the way from Japan. In the video, I asked if you guys were interested in a tutorial, and a lot more of you than I anticipated actually commented. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone who liked and commented. It really did push me to go ahead and make this tutorial. And I promise you that it was worth the wait. Not only is this going to be a complete guide on how to hack your very own LUMIX GX1, I'm also going to be giving you guys the tools and the resources necessary so that if you want to get into the camera hacking community, you'll have a good starting off point. I did not make this tool. All of that credit goes to Vitaly Kislev, the guy who runs the forum that I'm going to go ahead and link below. I've hacked my camera and reset it multiple times now for this tutorial, and I personally haven't had any issues. That being said, there's always the chance that you could brick your camera if something goes wrong. So continue at your own risk, basically. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the actual tutorial. Okay, so first thing you want to do is go down to the description and go to the link labeled P-Tools. P-Tools is the tool that we're going to be using to modify the firmware that we're going to get from Panasonic and install these mods. So when you go on the link, it'll take you to this website, personal view. If you're on Windows, you can go ahead and grab this first link here. And if you're on Mac, there's also a Mac download here. Okay, once we have P-Tools downloaded, we're going to go ahead and grab the Panasonic firmware. Again, also in the description, we're going to go ahead and grab the Windows one. If you're on Mac, again, there's a Mac version over here. With our two files downloaded, we can go ahead and jump over to our downloads here. We're going to go ahead and run the .exe first, and go ahead and click install, and that's going to result in us getting the GX1 version 11.bin. This is the firmware for the camera that we need to modify. Next thing we're going to do is open up the zip file and run the ptool3.exe, and this is going to be P-Tools. So this is where we're going to go ahead and install our mods. Go ahead and click load firmware and grab the firmware that we just installed. First thing we're going to do here is go to version increments and set that to 2 and make sure that that box stays selected. And then we can go ahead and do the fun part. So we go to patches for end users, and then if you go to interface, you'll see that there's an all interface languages setting. Go ahead and click that. That's what's gonna add all languages to our Japan only camera. And then for movie related restrictions, I like to add the 30-minute limit removal, remove the ISO limit, and the PAL to NTSC menu. These are the 4 mods that I run on my camera, and I haven't had any issues, so that's what I went with. But there's some extra mods in here too that have been developed for the GX1. So there's some bitrate stuff here, and there's some audio compression and encoding I haven't messed with, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't give them a try. If you see something in here that you like, I recommend to just go ahead and give it a download, see what it does. But once we've selected the 4 that we want to install, specifically the language ones, we're gonna go ahead and click save firmware. The naming convention for the firmware is very particular. What we're gonna want to do for the sake of keeping everything, consistent and easy, go ahead and click on the old version, and all we're gonna do is up the version number from 11 to 12 and go ahead and click save. And if we navigate back to our downloads folder, we'll see that we have the new modified firmware that we're gonna go ahead and then move over to an SD card. It's recommended that you do this on a formatted SD card to make sure that the install goes as smooth as possible. To format your SD card, you just go ahead and click right click, and then you click format, and then you can press start, and it'll go ahead and format your card. If you're gonna go ahead and format your card, make sure that you back up all of your files somewhere else, because formatting is a complete wipe. I've already moved that over. I've already formatted my SD card, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab my patch firmware here and move that over to the SD card. That's everything that we need to do on the software side. So we can go ahead and just eject our SD card here and move that over to the camera. One thing to note here is that some people reported that they weren't able to patch the camera without using an authentic Panasonic camera battery. Mine came with one, thankfully, so I just went ahead and used that. I don't know, I haven't tested without it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and err on the side of caution. Go ahead and take the formatted SD card with the patch firmware in it and go ahead and slide it into the camera. Okay, now that we've installed the SD card with the modified firmware, we're gonna go ahead and turn the camera on. And as it's turning on, press the play button. It's gonna enter into this mode here, and we're gonna go ahead and go up and press OK. And there you have it. The firmware is gonna be patching. Another thing to keep in mind is that it's suggested that you use a battery that is fully charged. This is just a precaution to make sure that the battery doesn't die as you're doing this update. It shouldn't take longer than a few minutes. Okay, now that the camera is done updating, we're gonna go to the menu and we're gonna navigate on the sidebar here all the way down to where we see this gearbox. And usually you'll start on page 1, but you'll navigate down until you see this little guy there having a little chat. You're gonna go ahead and click OK. And you'll see that we'll have extra menus now. Go ahead and pick your language. Obviously, I'm gonna go with English because that's what I speak. And look at that. All your menu, all of your camera stuff is now in English, ready for you to go and use. So there you go. That's a tutorial for how to hack the LUMIX GX1. If you're interested in hacking other cameras, I really would recommend that you check out that forum. It's just kind of cool to read through and see like this whole niche on the internet where they're just dedicated to hacking cameras. I think that's pretty cool. There's tons of other hacks and modifications made by the community that I personally haven't tried, so I would suggest that you go and give them a shot. Thanks again to everyone who sticked around, and super shout out to everyone who commented on this short, because honestly, without you guys' comments, I probably wouldn't have made this tutorial. Thanks again, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.